little camaraderie. I think they all know each other, how they play, and I think they might be even changing strategies, like how they play against you in this quarterfinals or some versus what's going to be in the actual grand finals. But
well, they might be comrades every other day, but today they are enemies. Ka6an0s versus Big Dictator Bossman. There are no allies in these qualifiers as we see them taken away. If you are just joining us, the Oumaji tribe is a very fast-paced tribe. Even if the game's gone longer than we expected, they are still filled with attritional warfare and lots of action. That's what typically populates an Oumaji game. And now this is a best of 3, so we will be seeing at least 2 games from Ka6an0s and Big Dictator Bossman. What do you think of these starts?
I mean, we're seeing Astria, or Big Dictator Bossman here, much more aggressive, not running after that lighthouse up in the north, going to delay upgrading the capital there, whereas Ka6an0s runs straight back towards it. And there's a very good reason for Ka6an0s to play like this. I've actually been fully converted on the Capital Explorer, by the way. I was kind of upset that I didn't see a Capital Explorer right there.
You're just a contrarian now. To be fair, that's been the order of the day, right? The players have been contrarians. We've been contrarians. You know, anytime we say something, the players seem to do another thing despite the 10-minute delay.
Yeah, but it makes a lot of sense when you're playing as the second player. You can tell that the host will always be that yellow classic Oumaji versus the away player is blue here. But both play, wow, cut off from that lighthouse by the mountain. Although wouldn't have made it quite far enough without it anyways. But when you're playing as away, you're not going to try to run your rider into theirs right around your capital. If you are a rider, if they find you, taking like a crazy early explorer or something, and then end up taking out your rider, just sieging your capital here. Imagine if Big Dictator Bossman had the 2 riders around this Jig City, kill this rider and siege the capital. That would have been game right there. So it makes a lot of sense to play more conservatively, head for the lighthouse first. Ended up still being a little bit risky, leaving the capital open like that. Ka6an0s might do it again here, but no, we're gonna see a couple of riders. That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, saved just enough stars for Rhodes, the warrior last turn, for this exact play. Keep him off of that ruin. And this is why I was liking the Capital Explorer. You know, in fairness, it's because I know that Big Dictator Bossman is up in the north part of the map, and that the Explorer would have got vision on him as well as probably the lighthouse, or at least it's likely. So you could have avoided, you know, this kind of ruin swing that we see here. Like, you lost your rider and you only took 2 health on his, as well as you're going to lose this ruin. If that's stars, if that's a veteran swordsman, all very scary stuff. Fortunate part for you is that you've got a few more stars traded from them meeting you, and you can go ahead and pick up farming as well as this workshop here. A little worrying to leave your capital open when you know they've got roads. And there we go. Population ruin is going to be absolutely
very nice.
And a star ruin.
And a star.
Okay.
All right. What's the percentage chance now? Do you think? No, it's a pretty good start.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good start.
I think it's like 100% Ka6an0s, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Full 100%.
You know, maybe if you got something good, like climbing and meditation.
Climbing, meditation, a swordsman that's really far away from the front line is a distraction, then maybe it would go, you know, 95-5. But, you know, star run and population, what are you going to use those for?
Yeah, I can't really see him working it into his game plan at all. But in all seriousness,
someone at home is going. By the way, is going to be maybe somewhat new to Polytopia, but has no ability to read social cues, and it just thinks that the hell are these guys talking about?
No, they hired these guys to commentate. But no, in all seriousness, 2 of probably the most fantastic ruins that Big Dictator Bossman could get should result in a pretty quick giant. There is a play on Ka6an0s' side, though, just 3 villages already, and these 3 villages uncovered. You should be able to pick up roads before capturing these cities as well, with the little buffer that we have to wait a couple turns before. Another village further in the west, and Big Dictator Bossman's own expansion a little bit slowed down, delayed a little. Not as fast as he might like it to be by any means. He's not pushing through the water. He's going to be the second one to picking up his 6 cities. But both players should get them. It feels like they're, let's say, slightly more coordinated over on Colonist's side. But in any case, both players have lots to play for here, even if Colonist is a little slower in the start. I mean, he's down 2 whole stars per turn right now. I mean, you know, the giant is there, but it's so far away that Ka6an0s, it's really a question of economy at this stage. Who's producing more stars per turn? The level 5 city is nice for that, but not game-changing, not breaking anything, and it's not going to end up destroying, like stealing any of Ka6an0s' cities. We will have opportunities to defend. So great start for Big Dictator Bossman, and going to give him, you know, some favor here even in this position, even though he's going to be second to picking up these 6 cities. But I mean, looking at the difference in income, you can see it's not quite as dramatic as you may expect. I think the big difference between them is just the fact that he was able to pick up roads. That technology difference is pretty big, but nothing that can't be overcome. Especially with a map like this, which favors slower play. The big lake, the big central lake, we call it. So probably going to see both players. I mean, both players have picked up fishing too, so they seem to understand that their future is on the water and are playing towards that. Drop some juggernauts in from Astria's side, or Big Dictator Bossman's side. I'm gonna keep doing that, by the way. I'm sorry.
100%.
But Ka6an0s has his own counterplay. I'm assuming we're going to see roads before capturing these 3 villages, and then work on grabbing our Grand Bazaar. I'm a really big fan of this border growth play. Okay. That is aggressive, but take it before your opponent can. And that's so many more tiles for you to upgrade all of your own boats, ships, etc.
There we go. More fishing. We'll actually see some, well, more measured naval combat in this one.
Yeah, we're going to see an explorer on that Lassie city. I'm a little surprised to not see roads. But with fishing, and you're looking at the number of cities that you hope to connect to the capital, if there's another village down in the south, and it seems likely there is, as long as it connects through the water, you can get your Grand Bazaar without using roads at all. So, a little lazy in my evaluation of the position. This is the much stronger play. So what now, Big Dictator Bossman? Grabs a couple of cities, no technologies, and I mean, at this point with farming, fishing, roads, don't really need too many more technologies. You're just focused on actually upgrading your cities. Already has the Eye of God, but picks up another explorer. Gets some very good vision on Ka6an0s. Connecting everything to the capital. We've got our Grand Bazaar and immediately, and yeah, we have just a little shy population. We're gonna have to use a port in order to get our giant on that city, but a very well placed Grand Bazaar. We get our giant over there and then send a juggernaut into that vulnerable city so far out in the west. And it's difficult to see how Ka6an0s responds to that, although the giant isn't popping out for another several turns, so no immediate scares here. So using these level 3 upgrades to go ahead and pick up some extra stars in connections to the capital. We could grab another if we put a port on this city down in the south. Yep, and the fruit. Seems indifferent which fruit you grab there. Although I'm sure there was some reason that it was south instead of east. But maybe there's better market potential, who knows. Working on grabbing all of our ports and connecting them. Another reason that the border growth was... it wasn't even the border growth that was devastating. But this west village, which you would love to use to connect to your capital, since you can't use the southeast city you have with ports. Cut off by Big Dictator Bossman's central city, Anan. Not able to connect by ports, so we're depending on a southern village being able to connect to get that Grand Bazaar. Ka6an0s will grab this city over in the west, should grab another city in the south, and be up villages 8 against a 6. So it really depends on Big Dictator Bossman to put the pedal to the metal here. Take the fight to him. I mean, looking at their economies too, very even. Up 2 stars right now for Big Dictator Bossman. But should start losing out a little bit of that edge after a few more upgrades on Ka6an0s' side, as well as the new villages. Also to consider the ruin, unopposed. Could be anything, but I'm going to use my predictive skills.
There we
I
go.
don't feel strongly
Divination.
about anything on that. Yeah, I don't feel strongly about anything here, but sailing.
No, you think?
I think the ruin's gonna give sailing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right.
No particular reason. It remains to be seen. No, I forgot about the fog. It's next floor, of course. Does it get the North Lighthouse? It dodges that
Does
North
not.
Lighthouse. Unfortunately.
back
Otherwise,
at
you
the
would
gates of
be
the
looking
harbor.
at your Eye of God right now. So, Ka6an0s is better set up in terms of, you know, looking at the economy, looking at late game for the potential. But how do you hold these villages when Big Dictator Bossman is the one dumping all of these giants and juggernauts into the water? You're a little bit slower there, and I think it's just like the very beginning of the game where we saw the roads come out, kicking them off in the east on that ruin. The same thing might be happening. We might be seeing that same kind of setup where Big Dictator Bossman's been getting ready to like convert these units into concrete objectives. We've got an abstract thing. We've got stars, but what do the stars accomplish? They help you buy all of your units. A little piece of advice I got from none other than Big Dictator Bossman 6 years ago. But yeah, I mean that's the way I'm going to categorize or classify Big Dictator Bossman's play as very concrete. Trying to gain these advantages.
How would you compare that with Sunflower?
Tactics. Sunflower is like you know, solid in terms of like understands the mechanics, like what to do with them, but you're not going to see so much in terms of like let's say the novel, or like going to, I don't know, this sounds mean, but like you know, the kind of creative plays. Big Dictator Bossman is a very creative player, and we might not see that level of creativity here today. It's not rewarded as much at the highest levels, Polytopia, but some of the strategies that Big Dictator Bossman's come out with, especially during like a heyday playing bullet games, absolutely, I'll say inspiring to see. I only hesitate to say that because I say inspiring about a lot of things. But here I think it's absolutely warranted. At least I only have so many things that I can call inspiring. I'm going to choose to call this inspiring. Big Dictator Bossman's creativity. So opening up another port to slide this Juggernaut in, as well as the Anon one. Have to figure out where we're going to send our warrior raft. And this was the natural tile to put our giant here. It is a little stranded, a little trapped may feel betrayed by its owner, pushing it so callously. Because it seems like it's very possible that Ka6an0s gets all the population he needs for a giant push, and then we're just lacking tiles here. So easy Houdini potentials here. But going to go ahead with sailing. This is the kind of creativity.
There we go.
The creativity spot tactics like this. Like, there's fog blocking our way into the village? No, there's not. We're not in range of it? No, I am. So very big swing there. Going to have... And if we push with a giant, which we're not able to get our Grand Bazaar yet. We're one village short, since we haven't been able to pick up the one down south. So we're going to have to use some other monument. But we are able to pull up the Houdini here. The thing about this now, though, is that we've given up the chance to Houdini this giant down the south, if it ever is able to siege here.
Big if.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. One giant against one giant, like, kind of a wash. But BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN, not afraid of a Houdini anymore. Picked up some, nice stars with the siege, and is able to get the first hit with his own giant here. Like, the giant's putting in a lot of work. I mean, it was risky even, like, you don't want to generally, like, dump your giants out of the water anyways. Like, it feels like, if you're trying to claim space on the water, that you keep your juggernauts on there, and then you'll trade down. And then when your juggernaut is, trapped in your opponent's land, without, any support, and you haven't yet claimed the space on the water, it's really difficult to make that call that you're going to push in like that. But he pushed in, he got the vision, and I think it's working out for him pretty solidly right now. It's putting a lot of pressure on Ka6an0s. If he gets, a better damage trade here into this giant, then I'll say that the play was, absolutely inspired, like, worked out. If it doesn't work out, though, then, tough luck. I should have just stayed in the water, played solid. But I think that's a really good example of the kind of play that I'm not saying Sunflower wouldn't make that kind of play. I mean, that's something you can calculate in the tactics, but I think I would say maybe it comes less naturally. Not trying to ruffle any feathers here in the Sunflower and Dreamland community. But there we go. I was interested to see if we might just advance both Juggernauts in range of the Lassie Giant, because it might be more interested in attacking the Giant on land than the Juggernauts in the water. And if you get 2 splash damages as well as your own Juggernaut attacking, you might deal enough damage that you're not too concerned about its either. But looks like the decision was made and said that we're more concerned about taking some damage and ignoring the giant entirely, just blocking this Juggernaut from getting into the water. This is another everything I was talking about with tactics about just picking up damage on the giant seems straightforward, but this seems like a stronger play too. It's positional, like right now, what is going on in the position, like, concretely, you are trying to get space on the water. You're trying to take space from your opponent. It'd be easy to forget that and look for damage trades, anything else. But he only has really access to ports down in the south. So cut him off from the ports. Use your giant to zone and control him. And why shouldn't you? I mean, you're going to take a ton of damage here. We take out a few riders, and we can see, look at the kill count. 4 kills!
Yeah, Ka6an0s has yet
BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN against 0.
Single one.
Yeah, but look how well, I mean, he's pretty effectively cutting Ka6an0s out of the water here,
yep.
I'd argue.
Something that Mayak failed to do to Sunflower in that game 1.
Yes! So...
You said yes as if it was like you asked the class, like, hey guys, what's 4 plus 4?
No.
Yeah, well done, buddy. That's a good bit of commentary. Cheers, I don't know. No, thanks. That's great. If you need me, I'll be over here.
If ever I sound condescending, I don't mean to.
You just can't help it. but be condescending.
Yes, I can't help sounding condescending when I'm talking to you.
There we go. Well,
you're right. Oh my
Big
god.
Dictator Bossman.
I could help that one. Whoops.
Ramming's been picked up. We'll see how effective
No,
that
I
is.
didn't mean to. I didn't want to sound like that at all. In fact, I don't think it's even obvious to point that out. I think that okay, legitimately using your own words here, but that is a good piece of commentary. That is good for figuring out like the arc of these games. I mean, here we are on game 1 for this series, like already like what's Big Dictator Bossman versus Sunflower going to look like? We're not counting Ka6an0s out, not out of this game, and not out of this game, out of the series.
Yeah. You know, there's still a chance in this game, and there's still a chance in the series. It just doesn't help when you haven't registered a single kill.
Yeah.
As Oumaji, that does make things tough. But like you say, he has to try and sort of keep himself alive a little bit, dance around, not be able to commit in the same way that Big Dictator Bossman can, because obviously he has command of the water. Jamuke is now under siege over in the west. Lassie's still under threat. He can push the action. But as we saw in Game 1 and Game 2 of the previous series, pushing the action doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to win. You know, in both those cases, the player that was on the offensive ended up having to resign.
Yeah, we would have had to see roads come out here. We can still see roads come out here to defend the village over in the west. But it is difficult to invest, you know, roads. You spent so much time avoiding roads. I'm not really working into your game plan. You know, getting your Grand Bazaar by other means. But it's, you know, tactically necessary to save your city over in the west. And then you're looking also at the juggernaut that's over there and saying, am I even saving the city? Can I keep the city? But if we don't see roads here, that village will change hands. Or at least, he's got, yeah, he doesn't have a killer monument. He's already placed his Park Fortune Grand Bazaar, so there's no potential for using 3 ports, as well as some monument to save the city. Instead, we're just going to see sailing, and feels like this is the same kind of, we're getting access to new tiles that we didn't have before, that we saw in the last game with Mayak. When maybe there was something more concrete to focus on. It feels difficult to push this because the big advantage was economic and having more cities. But as soon as this city over in the west changes hands, we're going to see a difference of 2 stars per turn, and both players having the exact same number of cities, while Big Dictator Bossman maintains a greater share of the water, as well as that advantage in roads. The Lassie city over in the west still seems weak as well. But the Big Dictator Bossman running back with that weakened juggernaut.
Absolutely.
Picking up some nice damage over on this juggernaut. You got some cheeky little splash damage on me, but doesn't matter. I'm just gonna tear you apart with some rammers, my own juggernauts. Big Dictator Bossman's position just feels so tight, controlled. I just want to advance here. What are you giving it for Big Dictator Bossman's plan to advance? Just defenders? The bigger, beefier units on the water makes a lot of sense. What else? He's got so I do think that Lassie City over in the southwest is a little vulnerable. Like, it does have the population to support a giant, but you need to go into something like construction in order to grab that, or some monument. But what else does he do? I think that's a big target for Big Dictator Bossman, but I'm interested to see that he advanced his giant to the tile he did instead of. Maybe if he'd advanced it east to tile, he threatens to put it on land, which is, I think, the most dangerous thing that giant can do. Or the juggernaut can just stop being a juggernaut, ideally. Ka6an0s' side, reclaiming a lot of that water. We saw some pretty solid plays. I think BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN's pushing for advantage over in the west, but hasn't been training units to support the water push, and these juggernauts are losing a lot of steam here. Getting traded off. I think Ka6an0s, I mean, look at ridiculous 41 stars, 36 stars per turn, stepping on a ton of starfish. Ka6an0s can probably turn this around. Okay, construction is an interesting way to start. I was expecting we just go straight into bombers. Skip rammers for right now. That's still possible just with the number of starfish that we're stepping on. But feels like bombers plus rammers to finish off these juggernauts, and then we can really start advancing. I feel like with construction, it's less pressure on the water than might be necessary than we would have if we'd gone into ramming as well. Ramming aquatism, of course, our favorite choice, if we're able to choose at all, that is. So, nasty starfish pick up in the east. Not able to really do anything about it. I think the Juggernaut just goes ahead, picks up the kill on the 9 health Juggernaut here. Doesn't really seem like it's worthwhile to pick up splash damage anywhere else. Then we can advance our defender and transform that into a rammer. Not sure about the warrior raft. But basically, BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN needs to be putting more units in the water.
100%. Otherwise, you risk losing the control. Necessary. I mean, again, just to clarify, it's an interesting reversal of what we're saying. I mean, a couple of turns ago, we're sitting there going, Ka6an0s hasn't even got a kill. And now look.
Yeah, I mean,
22 units to 13.
Solves the weakness in the western cities. Like, this Juggernaut's not nearly as menacing as it had been. But even up city count, BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN can bridge the gap in units headed towards the water. Right now, these units that Ka6an0s has aren't all too useful. I have some unfortunate news for you, Leif.
Okay, I'm ready.
Are you seated?
I am. Wait, let me sit down.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
Okay. Yes. So, we might be seeing some bombers, which will probably make the game take a little bit longer. Yeah,
there's the
navigation
bombers.
and starfish.
I don't have an issue with games taking long, to be clear. I have an issue with games taking long when it's when one player turtles up when they're losing. That's my biggest pet peeve of the entire qualifier. When you're actively losing, you turtle up to try and delay the inevitable instead of making a play. The last couple of games have not been that in the slightest. A point punctuated by the bomber.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like so the bomber is like both the best way for Ka6an0s to advance here. You know, pushing back in the water for advantage. But I feel it's also like I'm looking at, let's say that BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN starts winning, starts getting in the better position, is able to establish himself better on the water. I'm looking at that southern lake and how difficult it would be to reach bombers down there. And I'm saying to myself, like, bombers are the way to get to that turtley position, if ever there was one. But we haven't reached that point yet, and fortunately, that kind of turtling doesn't seem like it's all too important, just for the fact that we're not going to be able to defend our capital or the city Lassie. Other cities over in the east are pretty disconnected from that south pocket of the map, and if BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN is able to take any of those cities, probably should advance into victory.
Probably just win, you know, if you think about it, just win.
So I'm going to make a bold statement. Whoa. I thought for sure the bomber would have been used immediately.
Apparently not.
Yeah, no, wait, this bomber can get hit by the rammer, though.
Ooh, I
The
don't like
splash
that.
damage in Scout will open the pathway for the rammer to just hit this bomber.
That's an expensive mistake.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here we go. Does Big Dictator Bossman see it? He surely should do.
If I don't see this rammer hit this bomber, yeah, we're clearing the way with the Juggernaut first, and now we just need to get a Scout and to take care of the rider.
Bang.
Yeah. So a bit of the problem is that, you know, you were like, oh my gosh, the one bomber, I'm gonna hit it, which is of course good, like you're going to go for it. But look at all those rafts in the back. Those are all potential bombers now. And we're advancing ourselves forward into this. Was this just an expensive bait?
That would be amazing.
Like a...
Surely not.
Because the bomber
right?
doesn't die. It can, like, heal off. He's not looking at, you know, the tactics on this one turn. He's looking 4 turns into the future.
You think?
Ka6an0s is. And saying, I'm not going to lose this bomber, so the stars invested aren't a waste. I'm going to, you know, bait you, like pull you in so that I can, you know, pick up some huge bomber damage. And it'll be all over for you.
I mean, I'm excited to see it if that's the case. I'm just amazed with how wrong we were about the timescale. We were talking before this, like these games, these Oumaji games, man, we're going to blink and miss them. But they've all turned into like very caged. I suppose we should have seen it coming. But these kind of strategic plays over and over again.
I mean, if we make one claim in the opening, the players will prove us wrong. That's what makes Polytopia exciting, though, now. You never know what you're going to get until you actually see the games. This game is a big naval warfare game. And I've heard some complaints from players about how naval warfare with bombers progresses in the presence of markets. And Oumaji, let's say separate from other tribes, which helps keep it distinct a little bit, is that we're not seeing markets from either player. It doesn't seem to be on either player's radar either. I mean, if it were to be on either player's radar, I would argue it's BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN, just for the fact that he already has roads. But no, it doesn't seem like you know, it doesn't have the construction to support markets yet. And I say yet, but I probably mean ever. Seems unlikely. I know I was questioning the choice to go for construction instead of ramming, or at least I was not quite convinced that it would have been enough on the water to push it for this kind of advantage. But look at this position. No, Ka6an0s has reclaimed all the water, basically. 3 juggernauts at basically full health. Bombers to support. Like, we've seen no problems on Ka6an0s' side from picking up this start. From picking up a construction. In fact, the only problem I was seeing in Ka6an0s' position was the vulnerabilities on the west cities from the juggernauts over there if we weren't able to get our own. But yeah, two giants over on that city far in the west, so it should be very solid.
Context as well, we are about halfway through, just over halfway through the maximum amount of time for this game as things start to shape up for a bit of a push.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN was the one pushing a lot earlier on, but maybe regretting even that play we talked about and just spent so much time discussing, advancing the giant in the first place. Like, just in if you're imagining it as, you know, your choices are between pushing into the water or gaining more, or pushing it off the water onto the land or gaining more control of the water. And the tactics didn't seem to work out too well. If you're BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN watching this, you have to realize that what you've been doing so far isn't enough and you have to try something else. And that might be construction into markets, but it's kind of a question of you get more income and what do you get from it? Maybe you can start pushing your own bombers, making yours in the west. But immediately you're very concerned about losing your cities over in the east. You need some way to deal with that. You don't have a giant push on that city over there, especially after you've used your killer monument for the giant over in the west. So it is pretty tough, but it feels like Ka6an0s is the one who should be advantaged right now. That's some extra income, so better control of the central lake. They both have their own pockets in the west and south corners, but that central bit where the fighting is going to be, where the city is vulnerable to being sieged are, that's solidly in Ka6an0s' control. I feel like if you're Ka6an0s, you are looking at your ability to siege this city right now. You have to get rid of the zone of control of these defenders. So you're going to have to kill 3 defenders and then move your giant in. If you want to move in with your giant. If you're not scared of the potential of Houdini. If you don't think he's got the population to push you off. I think you have to be a little scared of that too. Just for the fact you don't know if he has construction. He seemed to spend pretty lightly the last few turns. But, you have to decide if you want to go for it at all, and then you also have to decide if you're able to go for it. You need to figure out, like just to calculate this out. Like, how do you deal enough damage? You need like 2 splashes from the Juggernauts and 2 scouts. Doesn't seem like there's enough damage here that we're able to kill all 3 defenders. Siege of the Juggernaut. Seems like there is though a possibility of sieging this Onan city over in the west, but we're advancing towards it. So it seems like we figured out a way in order to get our Juggernaut to siege here. Or at least we've been making plays towards that, and it seems reckless to advance our own Juggernauts without being able to push this last one onto land in face of all these riders. I don't think he can. I think he's 1 unit short of actually picking up a siege with this giant here. He needs the 2 scouts for the 1. He's got another 2, and he needs 3 scouts for the defenders off the villages, and he only has 4 total. But I think what he's able to do is he's able to push his Juggernaut 2 tiles northwest of where it is right now, so he can at least protect his own Juggernauts better. And he's bridging the gap so he can send all of his giants in on that city at once. Create some lift against a potential Houdini. But instead of pushing forward like that, we get some splash on these defenders, and then we don't end up pushing ourselves northwest. So I feel these Juggernauts are going to take a ton of damage from these riders, and they deal no retaliation whatsoever. It feels like a little bit of a loss there, but this attack is still pretty brutal. You don't want to be seeing this if you're BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN. I mean, you don't want to be seeing it if you're anyone, but BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN is the person who's actually playing this, so... How are you going to deal with all of these giants headed straight at you? We got 36 stars as well. Rider over in the west. We're pushing for some advantage, but all the... Look at the army of unupgraded rafts over in the west. Doesn't seem like there's... it feels like there's possibilities like skirmishes that can play out over in the west, but doesn't advance too much, and even I'd say favors BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN. Down a giant over in that area. But with the bombers, I think he can place his own more aggressively. And I feel like with this last play, I think it was spent a lot of time figuring this out, and I think played a little bit inaccurately, giving up so much damage to these riders. Just the idea of like changing the way that this giant, if the giant on the east of the city, if it had been northwest of the city instead, I think could have picked up a lot more advantage. Right now, we're just going to lose a giant wholesale.
We're now in the final third of the match, by the way. Both sides tussling for dominance.
Ooh. This, I think, so ironic if we've only had one game to tiebreakers so far.
Yeah.
That Oumaji seems to be
again,
poised to be the most likely try.
You know, I think we badly misjudged the matchups. I think given the occasion, given the stakes, and given how the respective players have been playing, both of them are capable. I mean, frankly, if one player is better than the other, we will see the tactical mistakes, and Oumaji is a tribe that will punish those mistakes. When both players are playing at an incredibly high level, those mistakes are rare, and therefore it turns into stacking up your troops and making sure. It's interesting, obviously, the different compositions of the troops that are available. But look at the timers, you know, at this point in other games, we've seen 5, 6, sometimes even 8 minutes on the times of both these players taking their time, thinking exactly what they want to do and how they want to do it. And it's that kind of tactical gameplay that it is making things go longer. Even though the game itself isn't necessarily that much, let's say, slower, if that makes any sense. Like, we're still seeing action, we're still seeing plays. Both of them have to respond to what's in front of them. Since the last sort of like coming together, they have kind of separated. I mean, look at the sheer concentration of units, right? In the west and in the east. And I don't think anyone's too comfortable taking that middle spot right now.
Yeah, I think, you know, Ka6an0s has all these rafts, should transform into bombers, and the giant push still seems like it's possible to make something happen over here. And if anything's going to happen anywhere, it's going to be Astria building up, or BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN building up bombers over in the west. That's force out a huge, like, a defensive posture. Over there, I don't think it turns into actually taking Laosi, although it's possible for sure. But I'm seeing like where it seems most possible to, you know, make some kind of exchange happen. It seems like that would be over in the east, where I'm expecting to see Ka6an0s with you know, starting next turn with 52 stars, a few bombers pull up, and just wreak havoc on BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN's position. We'll get the giant siege as well. And then I guess I'll ask, and then what? Like, BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN survives the one siege, even from the full health giant. But with the bombers pushing, more giants to come, seems more and more inevitable that something's going to give. Will BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN be able to defend? Is my only question. There we go. Some nice splash damage, and the full health giant is going to be the one that sieges. The bomber pops out. Not sure if I'm ready to call this wreaking havoc on the position. But some nice splash damage regardless. This Onan city is so well positioned for blocking a push from Ka6an0s.
Yeah. But having said that, it is relatively, I would say, it could swing either way with a couple of mistakes here and there. They need to do enough to convince the judge, you know? So not necessarily at this point win the game entirely, but enough to push a decision. We're in that kind of a stage of the game. 20 kills to 11 though. Just want to point that out.
Yeah. If I'm a judge judging this right now, like this position, Like, I have to give it to Ka6an0s.
Well,
Like,
he's sieging a city, you know, that, if nothing else, does show something. Not let alone the kills, let alone the unit increase, let alone the star increase. I think by every measurable metric, he is winning. Fortunately for me, I don't have to make that judgment call. It's up to the judge, and they'll give the reasoning.
yeah, we still have another about 15 minutes left in this game.
Let me
Great.
check. It's not. Yeah, 15 minutes on the dot. Actually, wow, that is that's impressive.
Thank you, thank you. I'm interested to see this. We're going after the giant that's not sieging us. Unless we have some way to giant push here, I'm pretty sure we're going to see BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN resign. But if we did have a giant push, we would be seeing these riders move in such a way that we're going to get a Houdini, and we're not seeing that. So
Navigation.
I think this is, I'm going to say, a little characteristic of BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN's play. I guess maybe it's not even like something where UFC players do this on occasion, where they have a particularly tough turn, and then they play it out before realize they have their I'll say come to Jesus moment where they're like, what am I doing? And resign. But I wonder if BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN's plan really is to just continue playing this game without this city in the east. It seems like it's unplayable like that.
And yet it doesn't.
But yeah, no resign yet.
No, none. No, we've known players to grind them out. Willabomb was one of those that would tend to grind it out. Later on, he became a little bit quicker to resign if in a losing position. I will say there was, remember, one point in this game where we were all but talking about BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN winning this game, right? It does show how much it can change. And I'll use this as an example, because a lot of people, or not a lot of people, there have been one or two comments saying, oh, well, you can usually tell in Polytopia within 5 turns and the spawn who's going to win. What a way to disprove that.
Not so.
What a way to disprove that. As again, BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN had like 7, 8 kills. The Ka6an0s has 0, more units. And yet, now Ka6an0s in the lead. Ka6an0s pushing the action, and Ka6an0s with an advantage in every conceivable metric.
Well,
Bless you. They got him.
thank you.
The people saying that he could call a Polytopia game within the first 5 turns. They got him.
We got them. Well, while we're complaining about our wonderful commentary.
Yeah.
But no, I see some things with people calling like certain games one way or the other, like based on the spawns. They're like, of course this player won. It was an obvious spawn win. And then other commenters on watching the exact same game saying, wow, it was really good of the other player to overcome the spawn loss that they had. People are sure that, you know, the game was won not based on the player's decision skill, but spawn, but they can't even decide which spawn was better on occasion. I don't know. Seems a little suspicious to me, but BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN, by any means, continuing this game with just under 15 minutes left now, to try to convince a judge's decision. It doesn't seem likely that BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN is in a position to push and win the game in the next just over 12 minutes. But there is play here. The city over in the northeast was lost, but it's not something where it's, you know, immediately catapults into losing capital either. Like, these bombers can't push that far. You do have the ability to kill the one giant coming at you, and once that giant's gone, you're not really worried about the safety of your own capital. And you also have your own pocket in the west where you can create your bombers and start pushing against Ka6an0s over there. It is a strong pocket, and it will defend this Anon city, which is a great defender. The way it's zone of control, like defenders there will zone of control units, and keep like rammers out. Would if not for the bombers aimed directly at it. But it's difficult make a push, even with the naval control that Ka6an0s has here. So I think I'm also going to point out really quick, like this is kind of like mental resiliency to have a bad position and keep playing. That separates let's say the good players from the great players. Because I know many good players who have played openings a million times, know what they're doing there, but we'll get to the late game part of and just completely shut down. Just like break there. So being in a tough position and still fighting on, like seeing what you're capable of doing. Even if I don't believe it's going to get BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN the win in this game, it's probably that kind of mental habit that's going to prove effective in the series. Maybe not entirely necessary, but perhaps helpful. So defending against the giant pushing into the capital, the Rider zone of controlling over there in the east. And I mean, if you're Ka6an0s here, you just have to be like looking at your opponent, like saying, "Why don't you give it up?" And BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN is saying, "Why don't you prove that I've lost?" And if we don't get the actual proof of loss here, like if it goes to that judge's decision,
Proof of loss.
Maybe it's, I'm analyzing this purely in terms of metagaming and like the mental side of the game.
Honestly, I think it is just that. We've seen this from BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN before when he's was playing his earlier ones. An outright refusal to surrender on any terms, really. Dragging out those games. In fact, let me pull up his record.
Ooh. Got the average length of game played from each player.
I'm gonna have a little look.
Should be tabulating these things. Listen, if there are any nerds watching a Polytopia stream
okay, so all of them. Oh my god, he resigned!
There we go.
Saying it.
Whoa,
again,
okay.
Once again, the Oumaji tribe
Keep us on our toes.
Every single time we're about to say something, it changes. Just 8 short minutes away from a judge decision, the situation becomes untenable and BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN surrenders. What is it? Everything we're saying today, the players instantly, I have to be so clear. There is a 10-minute delay. There is zero chance any of them can hear what we're saying. And even if they had, why would they do this to us? It feels like it's a conspiracy. I'm not gonna lie. It feels like a massive conspiracy. What a game though, from Ka6an0s. There was a time in that game where we had, I'm gonna be honest, all but written them off. At least I had. I said the words, well, we're not saying this game is already over. We're not counting them out of that, let alone the series. But we were looking at the next game. We thought it was a wrap, and he's done incredibly well to play his game, manage to repel that initial attack, and from there, it was all Ka6an0s. What did you think?
I mean, it was all on the water, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think those naval games offer these kinds of, swings in your favor if you have like the strategic awareness to take advantage of, kind of like a weak position from your opponent. Like,
yep.
I think BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN's big mistake was how was Ka6an0s able to get all of that set up in the water in the first place? We saw an overinvestment of stars into some other areas that they weren't really necessary in, and we just didn't see any units. We had a few juggernauts, and then they just got countered.
Yep.
Once that happened, there was no recovering. It ended up losing the full city over in the east. And I mean, at that point, that's where I'm gonna call it game.
And well, I mean, he didn't. He carried on for a little while. But if you're right at the end, then yeah, of course, that is when he decided to call it. It is interesting to see that which players will, I want to say tough it out because that feels a little bit reductive, but which players will fight until they think there is nothing left, and which ones are more likely to go. We actually had one Willibon one. Remember where he surrendered within, was it 4 minutes? That was the quickest game. Oh, yeah, he just had the longest one because the first one to go to judge's decision. And the next one, instantly, I don't want it. And then we played the game through. At least I think I'm remembering that correctly. So it is interesting how the sort of mentalities of it go. Or you have someone like Arthur, for example, who before surrendering will always, well, not always, but will tend to dismantle his own troops, chop every resource, really, for lack of a better term, throw his toys out the pram, but in a good way, because it's entertainment. It's not like he does it and then goes, I'm not resigning for the next hour. He plays maybe a turn more, 2 turns more that he doesn't have to. And oftentimes we see the other player taking it very seriously, even when their opponent does something like that. Now, it's 1-0 to Ka6an0s. Do you think Ka6an0s does the 2-0? Or do you think Big Dictator Bossman brings back? Me personally, I think Ka6an0s gets the 2-0. That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, I feel that I'm always going to favor the player who's up a game. It's easier to win 1 game than it is to win 2 games.
This is true.
I don't know if it, but I feel like I'm going to favor Ka6an0s here, but I'm going to say it's likely that we see 2-1 even.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I mean, I'm just basing what I've just said off of the fact that Ka6an0s was in a losing position and was able to fight his way out of it, and that is a tricky thing to do. Mentality, skill, all comes into it, and that's something that we have obviously seen from Big Dictator Bossman before, but like you say, easier to win 1 game than 2. So we're gonna have to see how he's gonna get across. Similar, like, okay, not entirely the same, but similar sort of playstyle to what we've seen, of course, from Sunflower, and it's more meticulous yet quite militarily active gameplay. I'm still waiting for the Oumaji, the 2-tap, the turn 3 victory that we were kind of anticipating, but. Yeah, I think average games-wise, this is definitely the longest. Now, it's interesting that that's happened, given what we've been saying about Oumaji versus other tribes. If it does go this long in the tribal qualifiers, Oumaji's not making it. What do you think? Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong at all. I think we did see in this kind of this kind of like a high-stakes tournament. Last year, Dreamlander was playing in the face-offs against Mixu, who's become champion again for, I can't remember what tribe Mixu qualified with.
Don't worry, keep going.
Jinji.
Keep stalling.
Yeah,
there you
go. But last year, Mixu qualified with Yadak. They play Yadak versus Oumaji, and that game ended turn 3. So it was good enough to get the face-offs, but not enough to win the Worlds.
Yep.
We might see similar things again, but it was kind of an upset victory, Oumaji against Zabasi as well, and had a loss earlier in the day too. So I think you're kind of right about Oumaji being a little lacking, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say lacking. Again, my favorite tribe, so dear to my heart. I just think that gameplay like we see Oumaji versus Oumaji is going to be completely different. But here we go. Of course, it is a best of 3. This could be the final time that we see Big Dictator Bossman if he doesn't claw back a victory here, starting on opposite sides of the map. We're going to have to see how the map pans out to see if it's going to be a slog or a quick one. Take it away with what you think are the insights from the opening moves.
Well, immediately we're looking at some interesting water placement in Ka6an0s' capital here. But countered by the forest blocking Big Dictator Bossman's access to the lighthouse up north. Both players kind of funneled straight into the middle of the map. And, I mean, fortunately for Big Dictator Bossman, you're not really fond of seeing this as the away player. You're worried about, your own capital getting stolen away. But won't have to worry about that with what looks to be a pretty big lake in between the two of them. And this is why you go for the ruin before the village as Oumaji. Really, any of the tribes that are a little lackluster at upgrading their cities early on appreciate the ruin more. The expected value is a little higher than the city that's sitting around making your text cost more and only producing a single star per turn for a while. But Star Ruin for Big Dictator Bossman is a pretty big swing. And this is not what you want to see. You don't want to see your opponent's borders. Yeah, you're going to buy roads before capturing here because you need to be able to kick them off. Fortunately for Big Dictator Bossman, not enough to get an Explorer on this city. If there was an Explorer potential on this North City, the Explorer goes straight up, meet for 5 stars, and you're losing your rider. But instead, sits stealthily 1 tile away and can just go ahead and capture that village uncontested over in the east. I'm really liking this start for BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN. It's a little precarious right now, but the Ka6an0s is not threatening anything. So you can make it a really safe position for yourself. Yeah, grabbing the road to go ahead and pick up that village just 1 turn earlier. Then what do you want to do with this rider? It's a little dangerous to move it too far away from the village over in the east. Instead, we're just going to keep pushing our exploration towards the west generally, hoping that we can do that, and we can, while also keeping it in range of a couple of roads down to the east. A warrior, because we cannot allow our city to get bounced into. But more than that, if we use a road with this warrior, we're going to uncover some fog. And Ka6an0s fires back with his own Star Ruin, so pretty good, pretty good. An explorer that ends up getting funneled straight away into BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN's position. Not going to grab the lighthouse, but no need. Wondering where to go, and just going to use these 2 riders to dance around the edge of the map together, uncovering fog, finding villages, going on adventures. I kind of wish I was them right now, but no, I'm commentating Polytopia right now. There's no one I'd rather be, sorry. So, another really solid explorer. Will it pick up that north lighthouse?
It does.
Boom! Last tile grabs it. That's going to be probably the most difficult lighthouse to grab any other way, so...
Give me the percentages.
Very
I want
happy
the
to see
percentages.
that.
After that, I need them.
Oh!
I need them.
Both players have roads now. I got the North Lighthouse. I feel like there's more precarity in BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN's position here. I like what I'm seeing with Ka6an0s. I think your 2-0 prediction...
It could happen.
Could happen, but I'm not going to call anything on turn 5.
I am. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah,
Ka6an0s
no,
has won.
I am. If Ka6an0s doesn't win, I'll do something.
No, Ka6an0s has won. That's my call.
Oh,
I've made the call.
Oh,
It's
congratulations,
happened. I
Ka6an0s.
just checked the script. Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll go ahead and pull back to the studio now.
Yes, please, please.
No need to watch the rest of the game. Oh man. No, I think I do like this position for him. But as we saw, I also liked BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN's position in the last game, and we saw exactly what happened with that. So Ka6an0s, it still has a lot to do. Although, like I said, I do like what his positions. I did like that. Obviously, that northern lighthouse does help, and he picks up climbing and the southern lighthouse as well.
Yeah, and he's got a really nice. The climbing is going to basically guarantee him lighthouse, or Eye of God rather, the last remaining lighthouses. Since he only needs the east and west ones, all he has to do is pick up an explorer on the east city, which is weighted to go northeast anyways. And now that he has climbing, it can't even be blocked by a mountain. There will be land tiles around the edge. A save, very rare gap in the map. And the west lighthouse by similar means on the village that he's capturing over there right now. This is a very interesting bottleneck that we see developing here. If we turn our attention to the south city, Suui, where the rider just advanced away from, both players have a forest. This isn't too big a deal for either of them. Both players have roads. The problem is they have no tiles around on. So unless one of them places a bridge, like they're going to be blocked by the opponent's forest. They can send units up to attack the city, but they don't have the space to really retreat them safely. That is, of course, unless they go ahead and pick up a bridge. So that's the first explorer to pick up one of the remaining lighthouses, and with 7 stars left, seems almost guaranteed that we'll take another explorer in the east and grab our Eye of God this turn. With that Eye of God, we have enough population to get a giant on our capital, turn that into a Park of Fortune, maybe pick up 3 stars on this gone city, maybe on the east city instead. get a couple riders, something. But a very solid start for both players. The question is, do we want to get our giant on the capital with the Eye of God right now? We can, get some extra income going. Yeah, we do. The alternative would be to bank that monument and use it for somewhere else. Since our capital is not relying on this population, it's just the fastest way to get the giant. So another 5 stars down. And what next? Do we grab a rider anywhere or warriors? It seems like they're a little bottlenecked on land, and they appreciate another fight in the water here. And in that fight in the water, I like what Ka6an0s is doing. I like what he's working with a little bit more. But BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN has the villages to get a Grand Bazaar. So one city ahead of Ka6an0s here. Just not the stars to connect all of these cities quite yet. Or 1 star short of picking up the last road necessary. So very nice fishing explorer to pick up this East Lighthouse. And yeah, you're never happy to see that your opponent has vision on it. But finally picking up vision on his opponent. Back to having 11 stars and still being 1 star short of that last population needed. So send the rider backwards, probably go to the ruin while this other rider gets the lighthouse, instead of needing to decide which one to grab. Fishing was a very wise play too, if the game is progressing towards the water. Not only is it helping us pick up these lighthouses, we should be able to grab our Eye of God now that we get these ones in the corners. If we connect Sieh with a port, an explorer there should head straight south, pick up the last lighthouse, and both players should be getting their Eye of Gods this game. So, Ka6an0s has absolutely incredible vision right now. Sees everything, not surprised about any of BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN's plans. And interesting pivots away from getting into the water with mining and roads. The roads make perfect sense to me here. Just without useful port access on your capital, you're going to have to connect your cities with roads. So that's how you're getting your Grand Bazaar eventually when you get this city over in the east. But also going to propel you to the city over in the west, so you can have it turn this city advantage to your favor. You have a couple more roads for BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN to get his own Grand Bazaar. And we're gonna see this explorer. Does it grab this south lighthouse? Yes, of course it does. Set that up a long time in the making. With this last road connection, we're getting a giant on the capital without any monuments used there. So we can use a couple monuments in the west. The Grand Bazaar, Park of Fortune. We have an Eye of God too. Could use that to get a giant as well. I feel like we may want to use triple monuments on this city in the southeast. Sieh. And then we can go ahead and use a bridge. Eventually bridge, anyways. We could just road west right now. Send a giant straight in towards Ka6an0s' position. But instead, we're going to take a border growth over in the west. If it wasn't a border growth, I would have lost my mind. Which I guess isn't saying much. But steal those 2 fish from Ka6an0s' city. I can't keep you away from the village, but I can make it trash. BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN argues.
I can burn everything.
Not a very productive mindset, but
that's the Oumaji way. That's how it is. That's my boys.
So spreading out the monuments between the 3 cities and working on income instead of just getting a single giant right away. That is a much more wise play, but it would kind of be cool if you just sent it all on one single giant to win you the whole game. I mean, ignore the fact that your opponent has mining It picks up their own giants, defends easily. So pretty smart stuff from BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN here. I think the big thing we're seeing is Ka6an0s' plan looks to be picking up as much just in terms of like city income as possible, and then getting into the water. Whereas BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN is taking a little faster route into that development, and using the mine instead of the farm too. I mean, I can see some things like you're setting up your forge spot when you steal that Onla city, that you'd want that, but I feel like it's kind of giving the game away that you have mining. Maybe it's an intimidation tactic. I mean, I guess the point really is that no border growth. It's pretty solid anyways. Get a quick giant there and then threaten the weak level 2 city. But yeah, Veteran Swordsman on the very edge of the map at turn 9, not what you want to see. But border growth there seemed like the best way for Ka6an0s to get into the water here. Still very solid play. Maybe even the better play, but getting another port in, and BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN has the stars, yeah, with this fish over in the east. Grab the Juggernaut here, or soon to be Juggernaut, I should say. Depends on how you want to use this. It is most threatening going over to the west, but then you're giving up easy attacks into your units. You don't want to have your Juggernauts being attacked for no retaliation whatsoever.
Yeah, I prefer not to personally, but hey, each their own. Turn 9, 0 kills. I find that anytime we have a game that has a good amount of kills, the next one is a lot more cagey.
It feels like this was twice in a row. I mean, there was like a little bit of early confrontation over the ruin last game, but they're just like so separated on the water. Here they're not as separated on the water. Like, both players have roads. They can make bridges if they wanted to push through the land. But neither player deciding that they want to go for that. Ka6an0s has a solid position, like in terms of he's got more cities, but it's not on the water yet.
No.
And I say yet, but is he making plans to get on the water either? Potentially. He does have fishing. But he's not really making any inroads towards developing that. Seems like he wants to put down a couple ports, get his Grand Bazaar, like some road connections. So, in as serious a way as I can say, he's dilly-dallying. And I don't know how long he can afford to continue dilly-dallying either. Like, But the giant over on the central city is good. Like, no doubt. I'm almost certain going to push that a couple tiles north, straight into BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN's city. Yeah, BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN's not going to go for the most threatening positioning of this giant, but going to go ahead and pick up, keep it as safe as possible. And I'm a fan of that generally, but I wonder about it specifically here. Like, is it going to be like fast enough, basically, to start threatening things? Because if Ka6an0s is able to just keep dilly-dallying, not really worried about any threats, if BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN doesn't start producing them, we're going to get to a position where Ka6an0s just sets up a stronger position for the end game. For his own part, though, BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN, evening that income gap despite being down a city, and has plenty more potential for giants. Not seeing so much markets in this game's future, although it is certainly possible. But Ka6an0s, you got 37 stars to start the turn with. Are you going to spend... Yeah, buying fishing now. So, correct myself, never had fishing before. what do you do now? Is it just for connecting your villages up with ports and bazaar? Putting the Juggernaut in over in the west. Pretty solid development for, you know, a slow start. Start threatening things like pushing into the land. Not that you really want to do that. We got a good example of that in the last game. But followed up with another giant. We're just going to keep pushing our income up because BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN has not produced any threats. We're not even going to advance our central city giant towards this middle city. Sees that there's no real need. Feels like that could have been effective pressure. Force out some lackluster plays from the Juggernaut giant over there combo. In worst case scenario, you drop a road in and then you just back up your own giant. Okay, but decides to play a little more conservatively. We're just waiting around. So sailing is funny again. We have another opportunity to siege the city over in the east. Although with a couple riders and swordsmen in range, it will not hold. But kind of exposes maybe a little mental shorthand that about training units and like keeping your city safe and siege proof. 5 stars in for the 4 stars out in terms of siege, never really worth it. So don't have to worry about that this turn. Just going to step on the starfish instead. And this is a very starfish poor map as opposed to the last one. Seems like BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN will grab the single starfish as a little bit of rebate on the path towards getting his own bombers. So a road comes down, but not enough stars for a port, and maybe not the desire to port that Juggernaut either. Just going to send it towards the port over in the west, and position the road so it's in a place where it can support those ports down in the south. That we went ahead and got border growth for all those turns ago. So Juggernaut's entering the water from Ka6an0s' side as well.
Turn 12, 0 kills. Very, 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 very sort of cagey even game. It also feels like they've been quite spread out in the units, which previously we've seen them. I mean, last game, you know, east and west were quite concentrated.
Yeah, they're not chasing after each other too much. I'm really interested in that too. Or at least my question is, why did we connect with 3 roads when we could have just dropped a port for 2 fewer stars? Gotten the same connection. Is he yeah, he's running his rider back. He wants to get this rider central and he's willing to spend 2 stars to do it, instead of improving his own port access too. Well, population growth. No border growth? That seems like you're weak over in that eastern lake. So it seems like you want to get border growth there so that you have more tiles to upgrade your rafts from. But no border growth. It feels like you know, it was a little more expensive to get a giant over there with border growth. But if you're using the monument anyways, it's pretty negligible for how advantageous it is in the late game. So a big mistake too, I'd say, what we're going to see happen right here with the scouts and the Juggernaut over in the west, because you're not saving that city. Another good reason to get the border growth in the first place and steal the fish and resources, you're not worried about a giant push over there, especially not after, I mean, your opponent with 0 kills has just used their Grand Bazaar over in the east for a giant they didn't really need. But if you're BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN, you are watching this and you are thinking a little bit. You don't want to be over eager. Seems like the Juggernaut siege is a no-brainer, but we might have to wait until the end of the turn. BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN might be saving that as a bit of a surprise. Navigation and the star rebate. Doesn't feel great about stepping this Juggernaut off the starfish over in the west. But you'll probably feel great when you flip the city count. Right now the city count is 6 against 7, but then it'll be 7 against 6 in favor of BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN.
Careful using those numbers, though.
I might have known what I was doing.
Yeah, I know. No, to be clear, I was directly threatening you.
Yeah,
I want this
no,
known.
you're... You knew I knew.
I did.
Well,
unfortunately, thematically appropriate. There has been a kill in the game as a siege has begun. Now, David Ka6an0s at the start, I actually said that he was going to win. What do you think the odds are now?
I think Ka6an0s dilly-dallied. What I've been saying is, like, BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN needs to show that there's a threat, and that you have to respond to something. And there's the threat. You just got sieged. And in fact, you're probably going to lose that city. So now BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN is the one with a better position on the water, more cities, more income. And it's difficult for Ka6an0s to, like, we didn't take border growth anywhere. And our ports are seeming pretty lacking right now. So I feel like BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN has the advantage right now, but we've seen the Ka6an0s come back from dumping the Juggernaut on land. Wow. Seems to make it pretty vulnerable, and if the difficulty we were having in game is in getting ourselves established on the water, and it is, I mean, both players are choosing to fight through the water. It doesn't seem like they've got many other options at this stage of the game either. What's the idea? So we're going to take some really nice splash damage over in the east and set up our own Juggernaut to go ahead and siege there on the next turn. But feel like it's even a case of too little too late. If you wanted to keep me from the city, you should have trained a warrior there. But big tactical oversight losing the city. BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN might not even take it right away. He might attack the Juggernaut with his giant first. If he's worried about losing it. Even if he's not worried about losing it, and if he was really secure about his ability to take the city, it might make sense to just smack him right now. Because you're like that giant, you never want that Juggernaut to have health regardless, even if you're not worried about him sieging you and taking the city. So we're attacking because we know that we have enough health on our giant here that we're not going to lose the city. We have an iron grip on that city, so we're going to delay it for one more turn while we just take some nice damage on that Juggernaut, which advanced a little too far. Nice use of the Eye of God from earlier to pick up another giant here, and with 15 stars left we could pick up a giant on that northwest city Muha, but remains to be seen. Waiting around a little bit.
Look at the difference in time, by the way. That is quite interesting to me. Looking beyond into the final, obviously one of these guys are going to be in the final.
What? I thought I was going to be in the final.
Yeah, you thought you were stepping in? My bad. Apologies. Yeah, sorry. This is the semi-final. It's you're not just going to step. Well, actually, to be fair, I think if something terrible happens and both these players are not able to continue, you know what? I'm just instituting a rule right here. It means that one of you or I, we do rock, paper, scissors, and one of us goes in the final and represents the tribe. It means we can't cast
instead of watching the finals, we just stopped casting and like we played Polytopia with each other.
Yeah.
Just like, you know,
we just do a 1v1.
Some drinks. Yeah. Wait, like... what am I talking about? Am I crazy? This is the Oumaji quarterfinal is between BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN and Ka6an0s. BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN with 5 seconds left on the clock, spamming out some units right to beat the buzzer. Evened up that income count, but the income is going to explode with another giant over in the northwest, as well as taking the city in the west. Big push on the water from BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN to actually try to push your advantage. Like there's weak cities over in the east, which are difficult to defend from the land, and also we just don't have the port access on Ka6an0s' side to refute this. It seems like we're pushing in the west and the east if we're BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN, which is not the place you want to be if your name is Ka6an0s. You don't want to get pushed around everywhere. Well, some people are into that, but in Polytopia, no, I don't think so.
We are just about halfway through right now. We are 2 minutes. We've been halfway through.
Were we supporting BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN halfway through the last game, or?
We thought BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN halfway through the last game was going to win, and then in that sort of 20-minute window, 25-minute window, Ka6an0s then pulls. Maybe that's Ka6an0s' secret. Maybe he has to be losing to then win, or he's that good. He puts himself in a losing position first. You know.
You gotta go down to go up.
That's simple. You know. I think that's what we're looking at here. It's gonna be interesting to see who wins this tussle on the water. I mean, I don't see how BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN should lose, but he could.
In the last game, it was the lack of juggernauts and generally not training enough units, but I'm seeing what looks to be a surplus of rafts right now. We do have some concerns over in the west. 17 health giant versus a warrior and a 20 health juggernaut. So yeah, we're gonna have to go after that attack. Goodbye climbing to finish off, but we're gonna step off the starfish instead. So unnecessary to completely finish off the juggernaut here. So we're delaying capturing that city for a few turns. And these are also crucial turns for your opponent, for Ka6an0s to try to pick up some techs. So he's not picking up any technologies while he's got the extra city. He's like, I really want to wait until all of my techs are cheaper. Like I can pick up ramming and aquatism for like 5 stars cheaper if he just captures that one city. I just have to wait for him to capture that one city. And BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN says, no, I don't want to capture that. Not yet. He's a funny guy like that. But, we got some things for BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN. Like, question of when are we going to upgrade some of these units? We want to turn them into rammers and such. But we don't have any border growths over in the east. I mean, the one population growth giant just makes sense. But we're not able to grab an upgrade on this central city. And there we go. Keeping our rafts pretty safe from the opponent. Just like that. Blocking off access to the bridge spot as well. Ka6an0s was able to reclaim some space with his own juggernauts. A little bit of deja vu from the last game, but
a little bit.
Just with how limited Ka6an0s is in terms of ports this game, as opposed to that last time, it doesn't feel like this counter push will be as strong. And we have that landed giant. This is why I reacted so strongly to it. He's walked a couple tiles northwest so far. I don't feel like he's accomplished all that much, or at least as much as he would if he was also in the water.
You're just a hater.
I mean, I am a hater, but in this case, I think it's justified.
There's a siege.
Yeah, so, we've got the giant and swordsman, but, we're not going to have the swordsman to deal with the giant now. We got some riders. We have navigation. Picked up that starfish over in the east, however long ago. It feels like it's possible to take care of this giant here. But Asher's going to have to prove it. BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN is going to have to prove it here.
We'll see what Ka6an0s has in store after that. Now, here's the thing. I think Ka6an0s is really good at finding a weakness and exploiting it. That's how he turned the tide last time, and I think that's what he's trying to do this time. He's like, okay, the west is inconvenient. Let me push on this one city. Yeah, you're sieging me down in the west. Sure, congrats. I'm now going to push through the center.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised that like, how do I put this delicately? I'm surprised BIGDICTATORBOSSMAN didn't hold the water as effective as I thought he might. Obviously, Cabanos is putting pressure on him, but I don't know what you think about that.
Hey, me too. I'm also surprised. I'm wondering if we're gonna see a bomber pop up anywhere. Bomber's not necessary to deal with the giant here. I like the idea of the raft up in the northeast becoming a bomber, getting some fast splash damage, but I felt like being behind a rammer to support it. It's a little tricky.
So the scouts are lined up really nicely.
Yeah, I think the
I don't know where either one of
here-
them goes. I don't know. I really don't. Tell me the big idea, because I'm missing it.
For right now, Big Dictator Bossman's first priority is don't lose that city over in the east. And I think that's a pretty good priority to have. There's also the priority, okay, I was clowning on this giant over in the west, but don't lose the city to this giant over in the west either. Stepping on the starfish and getting some splash damage. So we have to, and we're a little inefficient with our answers into what these two sieges. We're going to be sieged by two giants in the east and the northwest. How do we deal with it? Well, one, we're going to take care of that unit, which could have been a pesky bomber or maybe just a rammer. It's going to shoot at it with the last little remaining sliver we have. We're going to set up this 31 health giant siege and protect it as best as we can. Looks like the rider will attack, then the warrior will attack to body block the riders coming over from the west. And these are units that want to be defending the giant in the west as well. So does Big Dictator Bossman have the units to defend? Especially since his own giant is going to be gunned down over in the east. Ooh! That's a tasty siege there. No other words for it. But
I really think
pushing
Cabanos
everywhere.
needs to lose to win. I think that's the thing. I think Cabanos needs to be in a perilous position, right, in order to have momentum going forwards. I'm convinced of it.
I don't know what happened here.
I don't know, and we're casting. I'm trying to play it cool, but I got no idea.
So I'm looking at what happened with Big Dictator Bossman, and it's that lost the advantage that he had in the water.
I think that was it.
Which again, he'd
we
like
called it out,
placed like the same thing as game one. He was like, I've got a bunch of juggernauts. They're going to keep me safe in the water. But then there was a tactical concern of, am I going to lose this village? And he didn't have like any support units before it. He had like one scout that he trained over in the east.
Is it just because he was doing so well up until that point? And the same thing last game, by the way. Like, he was doing so well up until the point where he lost it all in the water. Where did the units go?
It's like it feels like a magic trick. Like I'm watching, a cup game, like in real time.
it's a Houdini, but his entire army disappears.
Yeah. Like, where did it go over the course of a few turns? Maybe no one but Ka6an0s knows.
Right,
And
well, let's see.
these riders
Let's
already
see what
like
he's got now. Here we
barely
go.
any health.
Yeah,
on
they're
them,
not. They don't
blocked
have
off
any
even
health.
further from.
He has to do
the
something.
Scout too.
We have seen that he generally won't surrender. So we'll I think he'll fight it out and see. Like, the terrain does mean that he has a little bit of a chance, right?
Yeah, like again, we're swinging into a position where the city count is very even.
Yeah.
The giant count is pretty even. I think the biggest thing about losing this city in the southeast, the city itself is not good. But it's the water access. It's the access to that lake over in the southeast.
Yes.
And I'm looking at it like Cabanos has 2 ports there. How does he have this many units that he's just been allowed to accumulate? You've had navigation too.
I said it a couple of times ago, where I said like I said Big Dictator Bossman should be able to defend this lake, but I have a feeling Cabanos is going to get in. And then you fast forward a couple of turns, and then suddenly there's no real blue boats on the water anymore. And I think it's been his weakness last game as well, where he's just not commanded the water as effectively. Whereas Ka6an0s has been able to just slowly funnel troops in, prioritize the water access. You know, I mean, we had that city in the west, that whole debacle, but at the same time, he was focusing where he needed it to be.
He's
Pull him
advancing
back now.
that warrior
Here we go.
just to die. Like, those are scouts. You're not doing... The warrior's accomplishing nothing here. This feels like the same moment that we saw in game 1.
Nice bridge.
And there's the bridge, finally.
Very nice bridge. And here
But
come the
same
riders.
moment in game 1 where, you know, the city around the same position in the map, like northeast,
Yeah, there we go. There it
collapses
is.
and
There
leads
it
straight
is.
to a resignation.
Ka6an0s 2-0, and once again, I don't want to say our casting has been suspect, but once again, subverting our expectations. I even said a couple times ago that I was expecting Big Dictator Bossman to fight out to the end, but no, he fools. Ka6an0s will be in the finals.